Welcome to VMblog's continuing coverage of KubeCon and Cloud Native 2020 event. Today, we have the pleasure of having PG Menon, the Senior Director of Product Marketing at Infoblox. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I guess to kind of just jump right in, if you could give us a quick overview of the company, that would be great.
Sure. Infoblox is a 20-year-old company. We've been around for 20 years, and we are the market share leaders in core network services. By that, core network services, what I mean is DNS, DHCP, and IP address management. DNS, and you need these core network services because they are what determine and they're what tell you who's on the network and where they're going. That's the purpose of core network services. So DNS gives you destinations for your traffic, and DHCP gives you an IP address, so you know who you are and you can tell others who you are. Very basic core network services. It may sound very basic, but it is foundational. It is very foundational to everything that you're doing, and hopefully through the rest of the this conversation, we can get that message across. We've lately been taken private by, we had gone public about 10 years ago, and we've been lately taken private. We've doubled our revenues in the last year or so. So I think as far as we are concerned, some of the trends that are occurring right now as we speak, it is just so important and so critical for people to have the right foundation to enable them to go where they're going.
I was hoping maybe you could explain for our users what BloxOne DDI does and the problems that it solves in the context of workforce transformation that's been brought about by this remote workplace.
Yes, yes. So workforce transformation or workplace transformation is a big deal that's going on right now. And we are squarely sitting in the middle of it in terms of what we do. A couple of things that companies are going through right now in terms of the workplace transformation or the workforce transformation initiative. There are two things going on. One is that the workforce itself is transformed in that it is no longer in some office somewhere or some centralized headquarters. People are working from home, they're distributed, they're working from cafes. And that has changed the way networks are architected, or at least what people need from the network. Then there's the second part of workplace transformation. Because the workforce is transformed, the workplace now needs to be transformed. By that, what I mean is as the workforce gets more and more distributed, there is no longer a need for them to come back to headquarters or come back to their data center, because most of their applications are out in the cloud, which is perhaps closer to them where they are rather than the headquarters itself. If you're working out of Miami and your headquarters is in Boise, Idaho, you do not want your traffic to hairpin through Boise before it goes to an Office 365 location that's perhaps in Atlanta, which is closer to Miami. So as these applications are getting distributed, as people are putting their applications closer to the end user, your network needs to be transformed in that respect as well. So in that sense, there are two components to it. There's a workforce transformation and a workplace transformation. As far as workforce transformation goes, what's happening is that people are distributed, but they have to continue to be secured. In the traditional architectures, every user would home run back to headquarters and get their traffic inspected before it happens back out to the internet. But today, because they are so distributed, that becomes untenable. And a lot of people are going directly from their endpoints to cloud. So there's a need to secure traffic that is coming from distributed locations. We have a product that allows people to get secure connections to the internet no matter where they are. That's as far as the workforce transformation goes. As far as workplace transformation is concerned, as applications exit your headquarters and your data center and get more and more distributed out to cloud locations, now you need those locations, those servers, those applications to be made available in an optimized fashion or an optimized manner to the workforce that is transformed. And this is where our products come in terms of the DDI functions, the DNS, DHCP, and IP address management functions. We provide cloud-based or cloud-managed DDI solutions that can be located in a flexible package anywhere, be it in headquarters, be it in the cloud, or be it in remote locations. And that's the way Infoblox is providing transformation both for the workforce as well as for the workplace.
And as we're talking about BloxOne, what makes it unique or differentiated in the market?
That's really good, great question, because when you look at the service that we offer, it is, after all, DNS, DHCP, and IP address management, and that's been around for many years. What's different about the way we do it is we've invested about a lot of resources over the last 4 years to make the whole solution cloud native. And that's an important distinction. We are the only cloud native, cloud managed DDI solution that is commercially available for enterprise usage, both at the headquarters and for the branch office. Well, what I mean by cloud native is it is built off of all the cloud native principles in terms of using containerization, using microservices, using modern tools like Kubernetes for management. What this allows you to do is, besides the speed and the agility, it allows you to scale horizontally. It allows you to consume it as a SaaS service, so you do not need to over provision. So the number of benefits accrue out of that differentiated architecture and the differentiated way that we've built and we've invested our resources for this product. Traditional products and traditional vendors offer you DDI, but it's a monolith. You have to buy, if you buy it and you have to manage it locally. If you need something bigger or something different, you have to send it back and get another version of the product. We don't have any such issues. It's completely SaaS-based, which means you can mix and match based on your need, and you can increase capacity or decrease capacity based on your need. It is completely, it's consumption-based, which is the whole idea of SaaS, which is the whole idea of making it cloud native. It's a consumption-based go-to-market model, and makes it a lot easier. The second aspect of it is you can now create an administrative domain that is centralized. It doesn't have to be from a central location, but you can have a centrally administered DDI solution, but managed from the cloud. In the old days, your management is located in a physical location, and it's managed by 1 or 2 people. Now while it continues to be centrally managed, centrally administered by a single team, it can be the administration, the enforcement can be distributed across the globe, because it all comes from the cloud.
And then what's new in your latest version of the product? Yes.
So as far as the latest version goes, we have a couple of new things that we've added. So while we are making it more easy in terms of managing from the cloud, and we're adding widgets and dashboards, while we are adding more bells and whistles for the DDI protocol engine itself, the protocol serving part, because if you think about it, this follows software-defined networking principles. What we've done is we've taken DDI as we know and love it. We've separated the control plane and the management plane, moved it to the cloud, but the data plane or the protocol serving engine is resident on location, wherever the servers are, wherever the people are. you have a local protocol serving engine that gives you local DNS and it gives you local DHCP, which means you can get the most optimal location for your cloud applications, like Office 365. It'll tell you where the closest Office 365 location is. It will also give you local survivability. What that means is if you're a manufacturing shop, you don't, and let's say you're a manufacturing shop in Puerto Rico and your headquarters is in New Jersey, excuse me. If you get cut off from the internet, you may lose your IP addresses and your destinations. On the other hand, if you have local DNS, DHCP, you can continue your manufacturing operation because you're fully self-contained. It's only the management and the control that's out there. And as soon as you reestablish connection, you can start managing it from any other location, but you have local survivability. So these are some key aspects of what we do here. And in terms of where we are, what's new in this, one of the first things we want to do is we want to expand the ecosystem that uses this because it is so foundational. There are many other ecosystem partners who would like to integrate with us. And one example is that we offer DHCP threshold notifications to Slack. Slack, as you know, is a very popular, almost like a social networking tool, but more for management. The admin folks use Slack a lot to exchange information so you can quickly respond to trouble tickets. So whenever there is a threshold violation in DHCP or a threshold notification, it doesn't have to be a violation. If there's a notification, it integrates with Slack and automatically sends that notification out to the network administration. So that's an example how we are expanding the ecosystem in the product. The second is, as I've explained, the control and management plane is in the cloud, but there is a really lightweight local presence for the actual serving of the protocol. And that product that resides, it could reside anywhere. It could reside where the servers are, where the people are. That needs to be hardened. Right? Product hardening is a very important part of what we do, and we make sure that it is completely secure and cannot be hacked, for obvious reasons. And one of the things that we're doing is we're adding TSIG to the product. TSIG is transaction signature. So whenever the DNS servers update each other, it's like a router updates. DNS has tables that tell you where the destinations are, and whenever these tables are updated, those updates now carry a signature to make sure that updates are authentic. So it's authentication of these updates, and that way the product's really hardened. And the third area that we are adding new things is in the area is security for administrative access. So everybody knows single sign-on. We continue to add additional security for sign-on. So single sign-on, we are adding Okta and Azure Active Directory. These are two very popular single sign-on tools. In the future, we'll be adding things like Ping for the same purpose. So single sign-on, and our customers have said, hey, the more integrations that you have for single sign-on, the better. And we listen to our customers pretty closely. So those are the three things we are on what's new with the product.
Well, thanks for updating us on the product itself. Me and David have seen a lot of growth in the cloud containers and the Kubernetes industry in general. What changes and directions do you see in this industry moving forward into 2021?
I think the big changes are, the drivers for these changes come from things like, cloud migration. That's unstoppable. The software-defined networking, some of those things are already well underway. So these are a few things that are well underway. The few other things that will explode in the near future will be things like software-defined perimeter. What that means is once the perimeter is broken, by that I mean the perimeter around the data center, which is what people use to count on for security. They'd send all traffic through the data center, pass it through the security stack, and then hairpin out. That paradigm is broken. That paradigm is gone. We will see software-defined perimeter come out closer to the users. And all of that has to be cloud-based. And when all of that has to be cloud-based, things like cloud-native tools, containerization will automatically catch on. So containerization, software-defined perimeter, and IoT, last but not least, things like 5G. When you look at it, and there are numerous examples in each one of them, but let me start with 5G. People will say, well, what does 5G have to do with basic DNS and DHCP? With 5G, there are billions of devices. They have to be onboarded. You need a automated mechanism by which each of those internet-connected devices get their IP address. Somebody to keep track of things that come and go. Somebody to onboard those 5G radios that communicate with billions of devices. So it is very foundational before you can even start doing anything. These things have to be, we have to know who's on the network. If you look at software-defined perimeter, it's about zero trust networking. For zero trust networking, it is not enough to know who is on the network. You also need to know where have they been before. Why is my high voltage AC talking to my database server? That's not allowed. That shouldn't happen. So things of that nature. I think so. We are squarely in the middle of a storm that is going to explode, and we want to make sure that our services are available to everybody, that can be consumed by the cloud, that it can be consumed in a SaaS manner. That's our mission, that's our goal.
And then I guess finally, as we kind of wrap things up, is there a way that we can get a quick demo of the product to see what it looks like?
Absolutely. If I can share my screen, I'll give you a really brief and short demo.
Now let's see an overview on how to configure everything. Inside the CSP portal, once you're logged in, under Manage, we'll have a tab called On-Prem Host and another called Join Tokens. With the On-Prem Host tab, we're able to connect and configure DDI on-prem hosts from the cloud. Inside, we can start by adding a name, description, tags, and enable services. You're also able to search for your on-prem host and edit any settings inside of it. And do note that once created, you will need to go under the Applications and Services tab and enable the appliance. Now as we jump into the Join Token tab, the Join Token is an authentication key that we use to deploy our on-premise hosts, and is required in order to deploy any application from the Infoblox BloxOne platform. A Join Token allows you to automatically deploy on-prem hosts without having to first configure them on CSP. This becomes more useful when deploying many on-prem hosts across the network, and can save you a lot of time. Here, it is very important to pay attention, as you want to make sure to copy the Join Token. If you don't save it, you will not be able to access it later, as there is no way to access the Join Token again. And just to drill that point in, when I look up the Join Token I just created and try to edit it, there is no place to recover the Join Token once created. Now under Downloads, you will see that there is an option to download the on-prem host as a Docker container or a virtual machine. Here I'll be showing the Docker deployment. Here, once the file is downloaded, you can begin. First, I'm logging in as sudo, just to make the deployment faster. However, do note that this isn't required. Now here, I'm navigating to the file which I've downloaded the on-prem host file in. Now I'm loading the download file as a Docker image on my Docker instance. This should only take a few seconds. However, you should be able to see the newly formed Docker image once it's finished. Next, I'm running a command to run the image as a container. Do note that I use the Join Token here. Then, I get an output helping me confirm that the task is started with the ID of the container. But to make sure, let's look at all the running containers. Now here, when I start running the container, I inserted an additional line to view the logs as it starts up. You don't need to do this, but it could be useful if you run into an issue. Now here, I'm just looking at all the logs as the container starts up. You can hit Control-C to escape, or just wait for the process to end. Once the startup is complete, you may need to wait a few more minutes, as a few more containers should start up on their own, as you can see here. Here, I'm just grabbing the IP of the Linux machine so that I can find it in the CSP. Now when we go back to the CSP, we'll see that the on-prem host was created for us automatically. Now we just need to simply enable the applications and services we want for the installed appliance. This may take a few seconds before it's ready. However, once the applications are enabled on the Docker container, you'll be able to run queries through it without any issue. Here, we can see that the new Docker images are installed onto the on-prem host, which were added as we enabled the DNS and DHCP applications. As a final note, it is recommended that you change the name of the on-prem host to something more recognizable. Now here, I'm going to show you one way for deploying a DDI on-prem host as a VM. In this case, we're using an ESXi server, and this is just one way in which you can deploy an on-prem host. Here, I'm deploying a new OVF template. Under the Select OVF Files, I'm creating a name for the on-prem host and selecting the on-prem host file, which I downloaded from CSP a while ago. Then here, I'm selecting the storage I want to use, and then selecting the network that I want to put the DDI on-prem host on. Finally, under the last step, I'm applying the join token, as well as some other pieces of information, such as the IP, netmask, gateway, and also the name server. Here, you can also customize your deployment depending on your organization's needs, and nothing but the IP, netmask, gateway, and name server is absolutely required, as you can configure the rest later if desired. Now here, after a few minutes, the on-prem host will be loaded, and we can go to the CSP portal and see that the join token counter has gone up by 1. Just like the Docker deployment, a new on-prem host has been created for us. Here, I'm just refreshing the page to confirm that the CSP can talk with the on-prem host, and now we just need to enable it. After a few minutes, the DNS and DHCP will start to work, and even if you refresh the page, it may not show up on the CSP right away. A quicker way to confirm it's been enabled is to simply test that it's been enabled with a dig request. It may take a few minutes, but eventually you will get a reply. So as a summary, BloxOne DDI is a very easy device to deploy anywhere on your network for your branch offices as a Docker or virtual machine to allow for resilience, reliability, scalability, and control of your network while providing your optimization for your branch offices.
Well, thanks for that great demo, and thank you for joining us today. Where can people go if they want to find out more information about some of the things you talked about today?
I think the first place that you want to go to is our public website, infoblox.com. At infoblox.com, there's a product section which is dedicated to the cloud initiatives. People who would like cloud native, a cloud native means to both manage and offer and consume DDI services. There are a number of white papers, and most importantly, not just about the product and how to use it, but most importantly, we have a number of case studies. Those case studies will be extremely useful and will provide you insights into why a very large multinational oil and gas company with 10,000 sites decided to go with a cloud native implementation of DDI. You will find out why a worldwide leader in streaming media decided to choose Infoblox for cloud native means to provide DDI. you will find out why a number of retail stores, financial institutions, healthcare companies are gravitating towards a cloud native means to serve DDI to all their locations. I'd urge everybody to look at those case studies because it'll give you more insight than just the product description. It'll give you the business value and the business reasons why people all over the world are choosing a cloud native implementation of DDI.
Well, great. Thanks again for joining us.
We appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about something I'm very excited about.
Great.
I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more from our cloud technology partners, please hit the like button and subscribe. And if you want to get notified next time we post a video, please hit the subscribe and the bell notification. Very important.